Good. We're here. So start to sit comfortably, and you know if that means stretching your legs out or grabbing a blanket. Do what feels really good to you. So that when you sit, you feel like you can lengthen upward. Let your eyes gently close, and actually bring your left hand up onto your chest and your right hand down somewhere around your navel, wherever feels good for you, onto your belly there. And then just feel your breath coming in and going out, and feel how your hands move at first. Just let yourself enjoy the breath coming in and going out through your nose. Start to bring your breath to start in the belly as you inhale and rise up towards that hand there on your chest. And when you exhale, imagine the breath coming out of the chest, so you feel that hand kind of move a little bit as you head on down towards your belly with your exhale. Next exhale, go ahead and release your hands on down beside you. And start to just rock a little bit side to side. So you're actually just shifting from one sitting bone to the other, just letting yourself rock gently side to side. It's going to feel good and calming. And then make your way on back into center. Let's take a nice inhale, and then when we exhale, come into like a little mini cat, seated cat pose. Draw your navel towards your spine. Bring your head forward, round into that upper back too. And then when you inhale, send your sit bones down, roll on back up. Let your chest come a little bit forward like you're doing a little mini cow pose here, seated. So as you exhale, the navel comes towards the spine, rounding into your back. And let it be really kind of small and gentle and easy. Inhale your way back through. So just do 2 or 3 more of those with your own breath and your own timing. Just letting yourself wake up the belly, the low back, the hips, and the spine. Think about the muscles alongside of your spine, just gently waking up here. Good. So finish off the one that you're moving into, or that you're doing right now. And then we'll come on back to a nice long back here. And let's come on forward into a seated forward bend. So flexing the feet a little bit, feel the outside edges of your feet coming into the ground. You know, you can come just a little ways. You can walk further out, fold more over your legs if you choose to. Just be really mindful of how your back feels and your hips. If you can, let your head release so you don't feel tension in your neck. Following your breaths all the way in and all the way out. And one more breath here. And then we'll slowly make our way on back up. Remember which leg you have in front, okay? Because we're going to switch. But stretch your legs out. Let them come just a little, your feet a little bit apart. Not a real wide angle, but just enough to slide your hands down a little bit, wake up the backs of your legs. I mean, you can go all the way to your toes if you want. You can have your hands back further on your legs. Just let yourself open up through the backs of the legs. And again, it's that coming forward from your low back. You know, bend your knees a little bit, of course, if that feels better, to let yourself wake up the backs of the legs that way. Good. And then we're going to come on back up. Let's come cross-legged again, but bring your other leg in front. All right, so you alternate your legs here. And then let's bring our hands on out beside us. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now, inhale just your right arm up. And take your left hand up and over and encircle your wrist here. And then just lean a little bit over to your left. So you're coming into side stretch. And let your head do exactly what feels good for your neck. So, you may want to keep your head more forward. To me, it just feels more natural to look up just a little bit, but that's up to you and how your neck feels. Breathe into the right side of the body there. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to switch hands. So as you encircle the other wrist and you lean over to the side a little bit, again, it doesn't take much to wake up there into the side ribs and letting the breath help you by breathing into the ribs here. Good, and we're going to come on back up to the top. Bring your hands behind your head and clasp them there. And then let your chin lift up a little bit as you press the back of your head into your hands. So you come into a tiny little bit of a back bend there. Imagine that lift right at the base of your shoulder blades. One more breath. And then bring your gaze totally back forward. Release your arms on down. We're going to come into that seated forward bend on this side as well. So take your time. Move your way on out. Again, feel the outside edges of your feet gently coming into the ground. You can fold as far forward as you choose. You can stay back, using your hands to support you, keeping your back totally long. And just enjoy. Let yourself enjoy your breath. Enjoy that release in your hips and your back. The quieting of a forward bend. Good. We're going to walk ourselves back up from here. So let yourself release all the way back up. Bring your knees on out. Put your feet on the floor and hold behind your thighs here. You can clasp separately clasp your hands and hold them together, or you can hold each leg separately if that feels better. Walk your feet on back. Play with just lifting your feet up a little bit. So feel the belly and the low back here in your little boat pose. Just wake up a little bit here. Draw the chest a little more forward. Kind of imagine you're drawing your rib cage towards your thighs a little bit more. So you really come into that flat back. Good. And then we'll bring our feet on down to the floor. Stretch our legs on out long. Take a nice inhale with yourself right here with flexed feet, heels on the ground. And as we exhale, we're going to twist towards our right. So bring yourself on around and twist. Keep that length up through the top of the head. Feel your sitting bones in the ground. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center and all the way into the other direction. So again, feel your heels equal on the floor. Draw them back towards you a little bit so you feel your legs engaged. One more inhale. And as we exhale, we'll come on back around into center. And let your feet just circle around a little bit. You can go the same direction if that's better for you, or do the opposite. Just release a little bit, shake them out. And we're going to come towards our hands and knees here. So, take your time. As you come on towards hands and knees, be really mindful of using a blanket if you need to for underneath your hands or your knees. And coming on to fists too, if that feels better for you to not put that crease in your wrist like that. Once you get there, just wag your tail back and forth a little bit. And let the upper body respond however it wants to. Let yourself just be easy there. Good. And then come on back into center and do just a few little belly rolls here. Let your navel circle so that you let the breath lead you through these. So you inhale when the navel comes down towards the floor. Exhale as it comes to the side and up towards your spine. Inhale as it heads down the other side. So those circles keep going in the same direction for a few times. Let yourself wake up the belly, the low back and the hips a little bit more. And then we're going to stop and go the other direction with the circles. So letting yourself circle the other way. . Good. And then we'll finish off. Come on back into neutral. Let's come down onto our left forearm and stretch our right arm overhead here. Let your head come on down to your forearm. Shift your hips back. Really just enjoy here coming into the heart melting down towards the ground. So you feel that release in that upper back. But you're coming into your shoulders. If you want, you can even come up to your fingertips and the tips of your thumb on the right hand now. So if that feels good, you can do that. Hug your elbow in a little bit. And then bring the right hand back so you can press up and switch to the other side. So that right forearm is under your head, left arm is overhead. Spread your fingers wide. Again, let your chest melt down and feel that release between the shoulder blades. And if you want to come up to the tips of the fingers and the tips of the thumb there on the left hand, you can. It really all depends on how it feels in your shoulders. Good. And then release. Come on back with that hand. We'll come up. Let's come into just a couple of little cat-cows. So let yourself just ease your way through your cat-cow here on your hands and knees. Enjoy feeling that sense of letting the spine feel very supple, easy to flow through. Good. And then finish off the one you're on. Come on back to a more neutral spine. And let your hands come maybe an inch forward. So they're not right underneath your shoulders anymore. And we're going to shift to curl our toes under and lift up and back into a downward facing dog pose from here. So if you need to walk a little bit, if you need to adjust your feet, by all means do. Spread those fingers wide, glance at your hands, think about your pointer fingers being parallel to each other. You can always just release and look back at your feet again. So keep walking a little bit in your dog. And give your legs a nice, slow moving chance, right? To start to wake up. The backs of the legs. Good. Let's come on back in to that down dog. We're going to lower our knees down and step our left foot forward and come into our lunge. So you know if you like your blocks, bring your blocks underneath your hands. And come on up any height you want to be on those blocks. So adjust them. If you come to the highest height and you're like, wow, that just feels like that's not the right place, then lower the blocks or do the opposite or bring your hands to the floor if you want. And just enjoy. Press the feet away from each other. See if you can come up to bring your left forearm on your thigh, just to give yourself a little bit less in your hands. Feel those legs engaging and find the length of your spine. And we're going to bring our hands down so we can switch legs. So however you want to come to the other side, does not matter. Get yourself adjusted there, you know that. Get the length and the width of the stance that feels good. If you can bring your right forearm up too. Just enjoy finding that length again in the back body. Good. And we're going to bring hands down. We're going to switch again. So coming to the other side. Add a little twist this time. Let your left hand come to your left hip. Roll the left shoulder up. You can stretch your arm up if you want to. Or you can keep your hand down. Head in line with your spine if you can. Try not to drop your head, but keep it more in line with your spine. And then bring that hand on back down. We're going to switch again. So again, once you really get into your lunge there, bringing the right hand on up, rolling your shoulder up. Again, whether you add that arm up is totally up to you. If your shoulder's feeling a little iffy, just give yourself a little more time to keep your hand down. Give your shoulder a little more time to warm up. And then we'll come on down with our hand, and we're going to step forward, coming on into standing forward bend. So take your time, let yourself walk a little bit in your Uttanasana, and see if you can lift your heel when you walk, so that when you lift that heel, you're actually really pressing into the ball of the foot a little bit more, and you can feel your toes releasing onto the floor. And then when you come back into center, just let yourself release, however you need. You know, if you need your elbows above your knees, do support however helps you. to be comfortable in your back. Feel those breaths coming in and going out, full, deep, even as you can breaths. And then we'll let our hands rise on up to our hips. We're going to come on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And as we exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. Coming into mountain pose, so feel free to adjust however you need. Let your feet get just the right distance apart. You know, sometimes a half an inch can make a huge difference in how you feel, whether they're a little bit wider or a little closer, to where you feel kind of just right with how far apart your feet are. And then as your hands come together in front of your heart, whether you have your eyes open or closed, bring your gaze on forward and out. See if you can now just barely separate your hands. Not very much, just a tiny little bit. You can still feel the warmth of your hands, and even like they might just barely touch at one point every once in a while. They're so close together. Let yourself feel the energy coming off of your hands there. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and let the hands very, very softly come back to touch. Feeling each finger, your thumbs, whatever part of your palms are touching. Very lightly. And then feel your feet in the floor now. Draw your thighs upward. Find that alignment of your pelvis. Coming into that quiet strength of simply standing aligned in your mountain pose. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us. And let's inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bend our knees. Come on forward into standing forward bend. Good. Let your next inhale help you find a nice, long, flat back. So however that works for you, whatever part of your legs or the floor or your blocks you want to use. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge. So take your time, come into that lunge, really find it. Press your feet away from each other. Let yourself feel your feet pressing like you're trying to make your mat longer than your feet. Good, and we'll make our way from here into downward facing dog pose. So coming into down dog, spread those fingers wide. Here we are again. So it's like a little easier. We've already come to dog once. Let's let ourselves just enjoy. And then on the next inhale, we'll come on out to plank. Nice and strong, engage your belly. Let yourself really feel like you're pushing the floor away from you with your hands equally. Reach back into your inner heels and imagine your inner thighs are reaching upward towards the ceiling, right? And we're going to lower down. Now, if you want to put your knees down first, do. Elbows right by the rib. And then come on into Sphinx with our elbows underneath our shoulders or as close to it as we can get. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Actually, turn your hands over and let your hands come into loose fists. So not really tightening your fists. Just really fold your fingers in, your thumbs in a little bit so that you just feel really easy in your hands. And let the upper body just open up a little bit here in the Sphinx pose. Good, one more breath. And then softly return the hands to go palms down onto the floor. Spread your fingers out a little bit. And let's come down all the way. Slide our hands back by our chest. Lift up here with the head and the chest into a little mini cobra. Using your back body here. If you want to go higher, you can. You can press into your hands, rise up, feel your elbows hugging in towards your ribs. Not necessary to do that. You can stay in a low cobra. And then we're going to lower back down. And we'll come back into down dog, whether you want to come through a half or a full push-up. Or maybe you just want to go back to your hands and knees and back to dog. Wag your tail around a little bit. Let yourself just really easily move a little bit in your dog. And then we'll bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And you know you can put your left knee down to get there. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Easy breaths. Take your time. See if you can lift all your toes up. If you feel like you want to squeeze a toe one at a time on each foot, you know, you can kind of Give your toes a little squeeze and allow yourself to massage them a little bit if that feels good. But feel those four corners of the feet into the floor. Let yourself kind of imagine you're waking your feet up a little more. And then slowly let your toes just melt to the floor. We're going to bring our hands to our hips, press into our feet. Come on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms behind us and clasp your hands. As you inhale, let your hands come off your back a little bit. And when you inhale, on exhale, let them come back down. So inhale the hands away a little bit. Exhale, let them come back down. Feel that open feeling across your chest as you inhale them away from you a little bit. And then as you exhale, come back down. Now leave your hands down. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, come on forward into a nice flat back parallel to the floor. Knees are bent, tailbone is reaching back. You have that natural curve in your low back, right? Take your time there. Just enjoy looking down towards the ground. And now release your hands, bring them to your chest, into your prayer hands. And we're going to twist towards our right. Now if you want, you can put your left elbow on your right knee, letting yourself find that twist in the middle of the back. You're even in your hips and in your knee bends. We're going to come on back to center, and we're going to go the other side. So bringing that right elbow across, letting yourself find that twist in the middle of your back. And then we'll come on back into center again. From here, release your hands back to your low back again and clasp them. And if you are okay to keep folding forward, go right ahead and do that. If not, stay parallel to the floor. If you want to release your arms away from your back once you get there, if your shoulders allow it, you can do that. And then we're going to let our arms come on down. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. And we're going to step left foot back into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Good. Let's inhale out to plank. Lift your right foot up a little bit. Bend that right knee. Bring it in towards your chest a little. And then stretch it back to three-legged plank. And put the foot down. And we'll go the left foot up. And then bring it in a little towards your chest. Doesn't matter how far. Come back to the three legs. And put your foot back down. And we're going to lower down to the mat, however you want. Let's come on into Cobra of choice. Really, you can stay low. You can keep going up. Totally up to you how high you want to come in that back bend. Good, and we're going to shift back towards pose of a child from here. So let yourself release big toes towards each other, however far apart you want your knees. And from there, walk your hands over to the right. Let yourself come over to the right. Breathe into the left rib. Let it feel good. Good, and then we'll walk back to center. And we're going to go to the left. So again, go as far as you want. Try to let your head release. Breathe into that right side. Good. And then we'll come on back into center with our hands. One more breath. Really let that low back expand with the breath. Good. And we're going to make our way to all fours again. And come on back into downward facing dog pose. And we will bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come back into our standing forward bend. And get where it's comfortable for you. If holding your elbows sounds like the best thing ever, do it. If you want to put your hands behind your legs, or if you want to put your hands up on your back, or some of you might even want to slip your hands under your toes or under your feet. Just easy, full, deep breaths. Let your face go. Feel really soft. Let go through your jaw. And from here, we'll release our hands back up to our hips, press into our feet as we rise on up. And inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Enjoy your mountain pose for a second. If you need to adjust a little bit, do. And you know, if you feel like swaying just helps you find center, you can always sway a little bit side to side, front to back, till you feel like you're right there in the middle. And then once you get stacked up, really, isn't it like you could just stay in mountain pose for a very long time, very comfortably. And as we now unfold our arms right on down beside us, we'll move with our breath, inhaling the arms out and up overhead. And let your exhale bring you forward. Inhale into that long spine. Exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Inhale your way out to plank. Let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, flowing all the way to the top of your breath. And letting your exhale bring you forward. Inhale into that long back. And exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Inhaling out to plank. Letting your exhale lower you down. And inhale into that cobra. And exhaling back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way to the top with your breath. Letting your exhale bring you forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come into down dog. Place your hands. You can jump, you can walk. Take your time when you get there. Be mindful. Really feel your hands on the floor. Let yourself feel very mindful of reaching back through both sitting bones equally. Feeling the length of your spine. And feeling very equal in your shoulders too, right? From your hands all the way up through your arms into your shoulders. Beautiful. We are from here going to bring our left foot forward into warrior two. So have your block handy. Let yourself get positioned there where you get your heels in line. And then you bend that front knee and really get a line there over the center of the foot. Imagine dropping down a little bit in your outer left hip. Sometimes your thumb at the top there of the hip hinge and the fingers wrapped around really encourage you to line that knee up. And then from there, let's rise our arms on up into warrior two arms, but turn your palms up for a second. Let your elbows soften down. Look at your left palm here. And let yourself just feel really released in the tops of your shoulders. And now, keep your elbows soft like that, and let your hands circle around. Just circle your hands one way, and then the other. Good. And now we're going to start to lengthen into long warrior two arms, turning the palms down, looking out over the top of that left hand. And really imagine you've got energy all the way out through the hands, out through your fingertips. Feel the feet gently pressing away from each other on your mat. Good. Let's turn the left palm up. Fold your right arm behind you if you can onto your low back. And inhale, reach up towards the ceiling here. Reach straight up at first. Really let yourself find that length. And now if you want, you can reach a little further back so you curve a little more backward if that feels good. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come into side angle, bringing that left forearm down. Look at the floor. And go ahead and release your right arm and let it swing back and forth a little bit. Really feel the weight of your arm. And as it comes back and forth, just feel how released you are in your shoulder. And now we're going to let it come up by our ear so that the pinky finger faces down, the thumb faces up. Press down into your left forearm here now before you open. And then open into that right side of the body, coming into that extended side angle. So the right pinky's facing a little more down. Your shoulders are both down and away from your ears. You have length through both sides of your body. Nice. Now if you can't, let the hand come straight up like you're doing triangle. But let it circle so it goes right back down. It's going to come right in front of your body, in front of your chest, and right back up into line where it was. Good. From there, we're going to come on back into warrior two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And now, arms are gonna come down. We're gonna turn to get our feet more parallel as we face the right long edge of the mat. Clasp our hands behind us for a second. Let yourself have a couple of three-part breaths here. So inhale into the belly, into the ribs, all the way up into the chest. And then reverse when you exhale, letting the breath out of the chest, and then the ribs, and then the belly. And then we're gonna make our way forward. So bend your knees. If you can keep your hands back here, do. If not, don't do it. Go ahead and release your hands to give you support if you need. If you're able to go forward, stay parallel to the floor, and you like keeping your hands back there, sometimes you want to lift them off your back. Sometimes you want to keep on going all the way to the top of the head, reaching towards the floor, and then you can also release your arms there if you choose. We're all different, right? So take your time, do where you can. Let your shoulders release as best you can. And then we're gonna let our arms come on down, hands down towards blocks or the floor. And then go ahead and bend a knee at a time to adjust a little bit in your pose. Take your time. You know, you may decide to stay on one side a little bit to give your inner thigh time to stretch out there and let your hips and your legs adjust. Good. And then come on back into where you're centered out between your legs. Remember, knees can be bent or straight. And let's walk over towards our right. Now, whether you go all the way to the foot or not, or you shift your block over to the front of your foot, it's up to you. You can hold the outside of the ankle or foot if you want. Stay for a breath. And then bring your right hand up to your right hip. And you can decide if you want to roll your shoulder up a little bit and look up a little. That's up to you. And then bring your hand on, right hand down. We're going to walk back through center. And we're going to walk over towards the left. Again, you know how far you want to go. You can stay in front of the foot. You can be on a block. You can be on the outside of that foot. Stay here for a couple of breaths, really letting your body have adjustment time. And then bring your left hand up to your hip. That might be enough right there. If you do want to turn to look up a little bit, add a little twist, that's up to you. And then we'll bring our hands back down. We're going to walk back through center again. And now, do what you need to do to set up to stay in this pose. Like you may decide, oh, I just want to grab blocks, put them under my forehead, or put them underneath my forearm, forearms here. Maybe you want to go ahead and just release and let the top of the head reach down towards the ground. Or hold your ankles, whatever feels really good. So, sometimes it takes a little bit of playing to get to a place where you feel like you can really let go. And really release in the upper body. And come into those breaths. See if you can inhale, thinking the word so, and exhale, hum. I am that. So see if you can just inhale, thinking so the entire time, and exhaling hum. So it kind of resonates with your breath. One more full deep breath. And now let yourself walk back out. So it'll be easy to walk back to your left foot to come back into lunge. And make your way on back into your downward facing dog pose. From your dog, bring your feet a little closer together and lift your right leg up in the air for a second. Flex the foot. And then just bend the knee and open the hip. Look underneath your right arm. And now come back to the leg long. Turn the toes back down so you square your hips again. And we're just going to do that again. Bend the knee, open the hip, look underneath your right arm. And then straighten the leg, turn the toes back down, square off. Put the foot back down on the floor. And we're going to bring the left foot up. So at first, establish that evenness in the hips. And then bend the knee, look under your left arm, open the hip here. Let the knee reach up like it's going towards where the wall meets the ceiling. Straighten the leg out, turn the hips back to where they're square. And we'll do it one more time. So bend the knee, open the hip, look underneath your left arm. Let your right heel descend towards the mat a little more. Straighten the leg, turn the toes back. We're going to lower it down. And now if you want to do vinyasas or kriyas, you can come out to your plank. You can move through to a back bend. Or maybe you're like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to put my knees down. So if you want to do a couple or three, do them. If you want to put your knees down and rest, do that. So that you feel good about what you're doing, you don't feel tired, and you don't feel like you're pushing yourself. You know? Just let it feel really easy. We have enough going on, right, in our lives right now that are not easy. So take your time, finish off when you're ready back in your down dog. And we will bring our right foot forward. And we're coming up for warrior two. So again, getting our heels lined up, letting ourselves get aligned to that front knee again. If you like to put your thumb in your hip hinge there and kind of wrap your fingers around the outside of your leg and press down into that thumb, that just makes the knee go into alignment, right? You can look at your foot, make sure. We're going to float our arms up, turn our palms up, soften your elbows. Look at your right palm there. Let yourself feel really even from your hands all the way up through your arms, into your shoulders, right? And then just do these little hand circles. Just have fun playing with your hands a little bit. Circle the hands one way, then the other, and even kind of wiggle your fingers around, right? Let it feel good. And then we're going to come all the way into warrior two arms, reaching out through the fingertips. Press your feet gently away from each other. Feel that strength up into your hips, your belly, and your low back. Good. Let's fold our left arm behind us. Turn our right palm up and inhale. Reach straight up at first. Straight up just over your shoulder there. Now, if you decide you want to go a little further back, you can, which adds a little more curve. You can reach further back. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come into side angle. So forearm to the thigh. And go ahead and look down and swing your left arm back and forth. Feel the weight. You know, if it feels better to kind of circle it around a little bit or wiggle it around a little bit, do. And now, as you start to really press into that right forearm, bring your left arm up by your ear, thumb up, pinky down. And really keep pressing into that right forearm as you open into your side, extended side angle. Drawing that outer right hip back. Nice. Now remember, we're going to make a big arm circle. We're going to bring the left arm up like it's in triangle, and then we're going to bring it down and in front of the body and swing it right back up into line. Keep pressing into that right forearm. Such a great pose. We're going to come back to warrior two, pressing those feet away from each other. We'll let our hands come down. We're going to turn our feet again more parallel, and we're going to come on forward. Now you can grab your blocks if you want. You can have your hands on the floor. Once you get your hands down, let's turn our toes out so that it's like you're in goddess, but your hands are down, okay? And then bend one knee at a time. Now that might be enough. If you like to lift, like if you like to bend your left knee and lift to your right heel on the floor, so you get a little bit deeper into the stretch, you can. And of course, if you like to shift your hips down, you can put your hands on the floor and let yourself come down with your hips if you choose to. Coming deeper, but really just support yourself in that if you need to, right? So, and don't do it if it doesn't feel good, especially on your knees, right? Good. And then, once you kind of come, like you're evened out, come on back to center. Bend both your knees again. You can have your hands on blocks or on the floor. Here we are, really equally bent. And then go ahead and straighten your legs. Turn your toes now more so your feet are more parallel. And then set yourself up again to stay here with your breath. And, you know, you may want to do something a little different than you did on the other side. You may decide, well, I think I want to use some support this time, or I'd rather just let myself come into the traditional hands between my feet, shoulders away from my ears. Or you might want to use support And now again, inhaling so, exhaling hum. And one more nice full deep breath. And we're going to take our time to walk back again over towards that right foot. So come on back into lunge. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. And really immediately go to what you want to do, right? Do you want to come out to a plank, into a back bend? Would you just as soon stay in your down dog? Would you rather put your knees down? Really follow what your body's inclination is here. If your wrists are bothering you, get out of them, you know. If you want to open your hips a little bit more, play with that. If you feel like you want to rest in child's pose, rest in child's pose. Good. So if you're doing something two-sided, finish off so that we can meet back in downward facing dog pose. And then from here, we'll bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior one. Do have both your blocks handy here by the front of your mat. Get yourself adjusted as you rise up to that back foot being just where you feel good to be. You know, if you need to rotate the heel back a little further, be really mindful of feeling this openness here in the front of your right hip. Bring your hands to your heart, and now just for a second, lean forward, just to where you get your body kind of in a long line, right? Your back heel is down, if possible, and then you're letting yourself just feel that sense there of getting into the length of the body. And then when you're ready, you're going to inhale your way up into bringing your shoulders over your hips, coming into warrior one. Inhaling the hands up through the midline of the body. And as we exhale, we're going to bring them right back down to be in front of our hearts. So again, just inhaling, letting the hands rise on up through the midline. Doesn't matter how much. And as you exhale, let them come back down. And this time as we inhale the hands up, they're going to stay overhead. Now you can separate your hands, or you can do your hand clasp with your pointer finger up. Let yourself keep your gaze forward for a second and hug those elbows in or pinkies in towards each other if your hands are apart. And then you can decide if you want to feel this lift right at the base of the shoulder blades. As you look up, it's like you feel almost like there's a bar that you're going to lift up and over here, right at the base of your shoulder blades. Belly is still really lifting, letting yourself just enjoy coming into that balance of your warrior one. That sense of inhaling up the front of the body and exhaling down the back. One more breath. And then let your gaze come forward. Release your arms on down. We're going to straighten the front knee out and bring our hands behind us. Now, how do you bring them behind you is up to you. You can clasp them. You can hold your forearms or your elbows. You can do reverse namaste hands if you choose. Both legs are straight. We're drawing now to try to get our hips square, right? And then we're going to come on forward into pyramid. Now, if you can only go an inch without putting your hands down, only go an inch and stay there. If you can continue on to where you're more parallel to the floor, that's fine. You can go even farther if you want, but keep those legs lifting up, thighs lifting up towards the hips. Feel that engagement, really big time in the legs and the hips. And then release your hands on down to whatever surface you like to use for your pyramid pose. And if you need to adjust your feet a little bit, do. Flattening out the back. Now imagine that you're drawing your hip pointer bones towards each other, but at the same time, send your tailbone back, which is a lot of work, right? So zipping up the belly at the same time, sending your tailbone back, finding that length through your spine. Nice. If you like to fold, keep going over your leg, do it. Just be mindful mindful that you don't want to roll to the outside of that left foot. So just trying to feel as equal as you can through your feet on the floor. And then we're going to come on back up, parallel to the floor. We're going to bend the front knee, find a brief little lunge, but send your blocks forward to the highest height, right? Because we're going to come on forward into a warrior three, shifting our weight onto that left foot. Let your toes face down there, and the right toe, pinky toe really facing down, so you're square and level. And then just bend that right knee a little bit, right? And imagine that your knee is just lifting up a little higher and then comes down a little bit. So you lift it up as you inhale, you come down a little when you exhale. Inhale up a little. You don't want to do many of those because your glutes will talk to you, right? And then come back to long leg again into your warrior three. See if you can bring your left hand up off the block. Onto your low back at first maybe. Checking your alignment. And then if you want to reach the arm forward, you can. That's totally up to you. You can reach the arm forward. You can let your hands stay at your heart. You can try to bring both hands up if you want and balance that way. Good. One more breath. Yeah, lucky you, Susie. And then we're going to come on back down with our hands and back into lunge. So take your time. Let yourself come on into your lunge there. Let it feel like a good relief. And let's add a twist of left hand to the left hip. Roll that shoulder up. Let it feel really good. You can stretch your arm up if you want. And then we'll come on back down with our hand. And we're going to come on back into down dog. So this time, once you get into dog, bend both your knees quite a bit. Send your belly towards your thighs for a second. Press back out of your hands. Hug your elbows towards each other. Good. And then walk your dog a little bit. And now you're on your own again. If you do want to come out for some vinyasas or kriyas, do. If you're like, say, your shoulders, really don't want to do any more of these, don't do them. Let yourself be mindful. Good. And then we'll meet back in down dog. When you finish the one you're on, find your dog. And this time we will bring our right foot forward, and we're coming up for that warrior one. So again, you want your blocks handy, right? You want to get yourself, as you start to rise up, comfortable in the turnout of that back foot, so you feel open here in the front of your hip. Shake your hands out a little bit. And then let your hands come to your heart. Once you feel pretty stable in your legs, lean forward a little bit. It's almost like you're looking over a cliff, right? Let yourself stay really long back. Your legs are very strong. You're going to feel it in that front thigh. And then just bring yourself back up, shoulders over your hips. Bring your gaze forward. And we'll inhale the hands up through the midline. And on the exhale, bring them right back down to be in front of your chest. And then we'll do that again. Inhaling the hands up. And exhaling, let them come down. Now this time they're going to stay up there, but however you choose, right? You can clasp, send your pointer finger up, hug your elbows in. So when you get this idea of wanting to lift a little bit through the gaze, that lift at the base of your shoulder blades. There's no more compression in your low back. What you might feel more of is openness in the front of that left hip, right? So feet even in the floor. Inhaling up the front of the body, exhaling down the back. And from there, bring your gaze back forward. Release your arms on down, straighten your front leg out. Try to get your hip pointers around square. And then hands behind you, however you want them to be. As you start to come forward, it doesn't have to be far. Feel the thighs lifting up. You're going to immediately feel so much going on in your legs. If you don't want to go any further than an inch or two, don't. If you want to go parallel to the floor, go right ahead. Keeping nice and long through both sides of the body. Put your hands down whenever you're ready. Once you have your hands down, if you need to readjust your feet, do it. If you need a longer or a shorter stance. Now flatten your back out and think about your head being in line with your spine here at first. And now that work of drawing your hip pointers towards each other. It is like you're zipping up your low belly. But at the same time, see, you don't want that to make that curve of the tailbone down. You want to reach back with your tailbone. It's really deep in your abs and in your back, right? And now if you're like, I've had enough of that, if you want to fold forward, go right ahead. Let yourself release. Find if that's not a release for you, and instead it makes things worse, don't do it. Good. One more breath. And then let yourself come back up a little more parallel so you can bend the front knee, find your lunge. Remember what's coming is the blocks coming out there to the highest height. And then you're going to launch yourself onto those blocks into warrior three. Turn your toes down. Let yourself get adjusted there first. Really get your hands in the right place where you feel like, it's pretty easy. And then bend that left knee. The foot goes up like it's putting a footprint on the ceiling. And now as you inhale that knee a little higher and then bring it down, feel where you feel it the most. It could be in the supporting leg. It could be in the glute on that left side, right? Or there could be 1,000 places you're feeling right. But finish off. Let yourself then, when you're ready, come back into that long leg for your warrior three, toes facing down. Now if you're able to, put your right hand up on your low back. You can just rest it there, make sure you're level. And of course from here it's on up to you. You can stretch your arm forward if you want. You can practice bringing both your hands up off the block if you really want to block both the blocks, if you want to balance a little bit. Do what feels good. And when you're ready, this time, bring your foot down, separate your feet, and come down towards whatever kind of squat you want, right? So that might be just elbows above your knees. Some of you, sometimes squatting, if it feels like too much, you can sit on blocks like this and be in a squat, and it can feel really good, right? Especially if your knees are bothering you or your hips. Or you can come all the way down. And if you like to keep your feet more parallel, you can have your feet more parallel, or you can have your toes turned out more. So just let it feel good, right? Feel where you can get a release in your low back and your hips. And we are right down here to the floor, so it's going to be really easy to come down and onto our bellies on the floor here. So, come on down. Let yourself just release all the way down onto your belly. Take a little break. Rest your forehead on your hands. Bend your knees. Let your lower legs come side to side. Maybe you want to circle your feet around. Just do whatever feels good in your legs, your hips, your back. Good. And then let's come on onto our forearms. Now, we'll practice a little side forearm plank. So, if you're able to, come up into a full forearm plank here. If you need to keep your knees down, do. Okay? That's fine. But then, when we get ready to do our side planks, let's come down. Let's shift to our left forearm with our left elbow right under our shoulder. Make a little loose fist with your hand. Now, put your right foot on the floor in front of your left leg, like kind of up by your thigh, right? And then lift your hips up, press into that forearm, and then stretch your right arm up overhead. And that might be enough right there. If you want to go into a full one, go ahead and lengthen your right leg and stack it, either on top of your right or in front of your left foot there, either way, stacking the feet or not. If you want to put your right hand behind your head, and then curl your elbow down towards your fist there, and come back up, you can do a little bit more work here on your side forearm plank if you want. Really getting into feeling that side abdominals, and whichever one you're doing, finish off, come down, and we're going to switch all the way around to the other side. So that you are again on your right forearm, loose fist towards the corner of your mat. Straightening that bottom leg out and putting the top foot on the floor in front. And where it goes is kind of up to you. But when you press into that foot and rise up, you'll know it's in a good place. You can reach your left arm up, overhead. You can do your full side plank, forearm plank if you want. You can put your hand behind your head. can curl that elbow down towards your fist. If you like those, right? They're a lot harder when you're in the full one, but either way, really nice work. Good. When you've had enough of that, come on down. Come back to your belly and actually shift back with your hips up in the air. Come onto your forearms and clasp your hands, send your pinky fingers out. Come on up if we can. You don't have to be up in a dolphin to really let your shoulders work, right? You can press into your forearms right here, let your heart melt down. Stay right here without lifting your hips up. Or you can go ahead and walk your feet on up and come into your dolphin pose. Depends on how much you want to work today. Just take your time. You know, come down if you need to. If you like to play with lifting a leg up in the air when you're up there, go for it. Totally up to you. Good. So coming on down, resting in your child's pose, wherever you want your arms to be. Good. And then we'll bring our hands back by our knees. We're going to come on up and around the sitting. So let yourself just reach your legs on out in front of you. Shake them out a little bit. Bless you. And let's just do a little harem pose today. So let's bring our right foot in. Now, what you do with this left leg is going to be up to you, right? When you lean back a little bit and hold behind your thigh and put your foot up in the air, if you feel better to fold this leg up under, you do. If you feel better to leave it long, do. Walk your hands up. See if you can hold on to the outside and the inside of your big toe mound and little toe mound there. So you're holding on to the ball of your foot. Now right here, you're in a harem. You don't have to straighten the leg out. If you kind of pull yourself towards that inner thigh and lengthen up your spine. If you want to lengthen your leg out and start to look above your toes, you can. That's totally up to you. Let yourself just enjoy finding that uplift and feeling that sense of really letting the back of the leg get a nice release there. Good. Now if you can, let your right hand come to the outside of that, your left hand come to the outside of that right foot somewhere, or down lower on your leg, because all we're going to do is twist towards our right, bringing our right hand behind us, right? So if you can, wherever you have your hand on that foot or leg, kind of push the leg back into your hand, but let the hand push back into your foot or leg. And oh man, there's a lot on the outside of the leg right there. Just enjoy one more breath. And then come on back around into center. Put your foot back down on the floor, and for a second, just let yourself release your head forward. You can even round a little bit in your back there. Let it feel easy. And then roll yourself back up. We're going to switch legs. So again, once you bring the left leg in, this leg is totally, sometimes this puts a weird kind of pressure in people's knees. It's different than being cross-legged. I don't know how to describe it. But you can keep the leg long. It's better. So again, you can kind of hold behind your thigh. You can start to reach up towards your foot when you're ready. And you can think about, again, not this, right? But drawing yourself towards that inner thigh. And whether the leg wants to come longer or not, not everybody's leg will do that. So you just be where you can, letting yourself feel that uplift here. Enjoy opening up through the back of the leg. I just love Harem Pose. Really let yourself enjoy one more breath here. And now when you bring your right hand, wherever you can, towards the outside, right, of the leg or the foot, and you turn into that twist, just let yourself come on around, press the leg or the foot into your hand, resist with your hand. Really come into that IT band stretch there on that left leg. Good. One more breath. as you come on back around into center. Go ahead and put your foot down and again, bow your head. Let yourself release however you need. You can turn your head a little bit. Good. And then go ahead and release your legs out long, shake them out. And we're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. And you might want to have a block or two handy. So let yourself come on down. Bring your knees on into your chest and roll a little bit, side to side. Whatever feels good. If you feel better to circle your knees, circle your knees. Whether you like to keep them together or separate them, it doesn't matter. Whatever brings you the most relief. Good, and let's bring our feet down and set up for a little bridge pose. So your feet are parallel, right? You want, possibly a little wider than the mountain for most of us feels better. Bring your arms down alongside you. Really turn your palms down towards the floor. And go ahead and press into the backs of your upper arms and roll your shoulders under a little bit. And then just lift your hips up. Now, once you get your hips up off the floor a little bit, press into your feet. Feel your thighs engaging. And then see if you can bend your elbows and clasp your hands underneath you. Now, if you need to do that and let the hands float off the floor, do. If you feel good to roll your shoulders under more, and then straighten your arms more and press down into your arms, you can lift up maybe a little higher that way. But, that's just not in everybody. So once you feel like, okay, I've done enough, I don't want to clasp my hands anymore, you can unclasp them. You can come down, and if you know you'd rather do a supported bridge, you're more than welcome to grab a block or two right now and rest on a block or two. And if you're doing support and you want to play while you're up on that support, by all means do that. You can work a little bit with your legs up in the air. You can do a little work for your abs by doing leg lifts. You can allow yourself to just come into wide legs. And of course, I know a lot of you like to straighten one leg or both legs down on the floor to open up a little more in your hip flexors, right? It's kind of a nice way to get that openness in the front of the hips. If it feels like too much though to do that with two legs, you can just try one leg at a time. Good. You don't need to wait for me. Some of you are already down because you're ready to be down on a bridge pose. So you can come down anytime you want. Bring your knees into your chest, of course, when you do. Just take your time, do what your body wants to do to adjust there. And then just bring your feet to the floor. And lift your hips and shift them to the right, just an inch or two, just a tiny little bit, okay? And then from there, bring your knees up towards you a little bit and send them to the left. And if you can let them go all the way down to the floor, do, for a twist there. If that doesn't feel so good, then by all means put a block underneath the outside of the leg. See if you can rest in this double knee twist for a couple of breaths more. And then start to bring your knees on back to center. Put your feet down. Straighten your spine out for a second. Get really normal with your spine there. And then shift your hips a little tiny bit to the left and put them down. Bring your knees in a little bit towards you. And then bring the knees over to the right. Now, how much you bring them up towards you or leave them down away from you is going to change how you experience that twist, right? So you got to find what works for you. If you need a block underneath them, use a block. breath there. And when you do come on back up again to center, kind of straighten yourself out. You might want to pull your knees in towards your chest. There might be any number of things you want to do right now. You might want to stretch your legs up and do a happy baby, or you might want to do a little bit of a wide angle or a Baddha Konasana. There are any number of things you might want to do right now. So take your time. I'm going to start to walk around so that when people do feel like they want to get into being ready for Shavasana, if you need a blanket or if you need a bolster of any size, if you want cover, if you want a blanket under your head, remember the important thing is to be comfortable. So wave at me if the idea of something sounds good. Take your time. Settle in. If you need to kind of wiggle your way into Shavasana, enjoy feeling the ground underneath you. Let yourself just feel your arms and your legs, and as they gradually relax a little more and more, you can feel that release up into your shoulders and hips. And as you follow your breath in and out, feel how your face just wants to soften. Keep coming back to your breath whenever your mind wanders off into thinking. And trust your body to get what it needs from all you just did, just by letting yourself completely and fully relax. side to side. Do it the way you naturally feel good to move. Taking your time, enjoying the ground a little bit longer. And you know you're welcome, of course, to roll to either your right or your left side if that's comfortable for you to stay there in a soft fetal position. You can give your mind and your body a little bit longer to adjust that way. Get ready to rise up to sitting. Let it feel easy. Just float your way up into sitting however is comfortable and starting to get adjusted again to having your head up there on top. Getting your head above your heart again, which will start the energy coming back more. So just take your time, have your eyes be closed, sit comfortably, enjoy feeling your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.